I'm going to build a small home gym in my basement and bring you along for the entire process. I'll show you the cost of everything and all the mistakes I made along the way so you don't make the same mistakes. To begin, we recently moved back to Canada, purchased a home, and started up at our new local gym. The local gym was very overpriced, and so I ran the numbers, and with the price of 2 gym memberships over 4 years, we could build a home gym that fit our needs in our own space. Most spare guest bedrooms are only used a few times a year, where a home gym is something that'll be used all the time. Here's an image of the exact layout of our small basement room. You see it's around 13 by 11 feet, plus the section of the door and the closet. I then used cardboard cutouts and tape to feel out the space even more in person. The goal was to be able to complete all our regular workouts without any issues and without it feeling like a cheap home gym. The plan was to have a squat rack in one corner and a cable machine in the other corner. Once the vision was set, the first step was rubber flooring, as it's the first thing you need to do. At first, I looked at what most YouTubers recommended, which was horse stall mats, thick, durable, and cheap, as they say. And luckily, I'm kind of in like farmland. There's a lot of people with horses and a lot of like agricultural stores near me. But when I ran the numbers for horse stall mats near me, plus the shipping, the cost was much higher than I anticipated. And since this was a small room in our basement, I worried about the strong rubber smells that horse stall mats are famous for. Since we don't plan to do any overhead Olympic lifting and we plan to use bumper plates for any deadlifting we do, we decided on 8mm rubber tiles, which is what's found in most commercial gyms. And luckily, near us there was a local rubber company. We decided to get the speckle version of the tiles to help hide the seams. But before the flooring could start, the carpet had to go. Luckily, our house was fairly new and the basement floor was in great shape. The carpet came up super easy and I rolled it into 4 to 5 foot chunks to save for future custom cat trees since we have 4 cats at home. The padding underneath the carpet was a little tougher as some parts of it were glued down. I just kind of ripped it off and then used a paint scraper to file away any glue that was in the center of the room, which I don't recommend. There's better tools that we talk about later. Then we transitioned quickly to painting the walls before dealing with the annoying carpet tacks in the corners of the room. Because it was a nice day out, we felt it was perfect to paint it now and leave the window open. My wife picked the color, a dark green. We wanted something dark but not pitch black, and the first coat looked a little rough, but as it dried and we put a second coat on and did some touch-outs, it came out great. But then we were back to dealing with those annoying carpet tacks. They were glued down directly to the concrete and they were not nailed to the concrete. Here's where I made my first mistake. I used a pry bar and a heat gun to loosen them, thinking I was being smart loosening the glue, but I was not wearing a mask, and about an hour into it, my throat started to hurt. The technique I was using had a lot of particles flying in the air, and I'm sure there's some kind of vapor if I was heating up the glue a little too much. So I went out immediately the next day and bought a vapor-resistant mask, and I also picked up this straight razor-style scraper, and this scraper was the best purchase of this process of the build, and I highly recommend one of these tools if you need to scrape glue off the floor. Now finally, we could start the flooring. Once the tiles arrived, I let them sit in my basement for a few days to acclimate to the temperature. Then I took them out of the plastic and laid them loose on the floor overnight, in the actual room. Rubber expands and contracts with temperature changes, and here in Canada we can go from -40 winters to +30 summers for a few weeks. Because of this, I marked down a 1/4 inch line away from the wall and used that to place all my edge tile pieces along that line so they're not actually touching the wall. That way when the tiles expand, they have room to expand and they won't push against each other and bubble up against the wall. The baseboards are nice because they actually hide that gap perfectly. Then it was time to measure and cut and lay them down row by row. I started with the first corner you would see when you walked in the room. That way any uneven cuts were hidden along the back. I used a straight edge, utility knife, and a dead blow hammer, not a rubber mallet. Rubber mallets can bounce every time you hit them, and a lot of people talk about getting blisters on their hands. This is just a one clean hit and it protects your wrists. This is where my second mistake came in. When I calculated how many tiles I needed for my room, the exact measurement said 38, so I thought I was being smart and I ordered 40. But after cutting away parts of the tiles for the edge work, I still ended up being short about 2 full tiles, and this was without making any major mistakes when I was cutting them and having to use extra pieces. Because of this, I had to do a separate order and pay for separate shipping again, or extra shipping, which kind of ruined my whole budgeting I was doing before, thinking I was being smart with the flooring I picked, and this was like an extra $100 on top. So learn from me and always order even more extra tiles than you think you need, just to have backups for mistakes for cutting, or because, like me, You're not taking into account all the little pieces you're cutting off is actually losing a tile or two in the process. Finally, it was time to bring in the equipment. I ended up ordering almost everything from a Canadian company called Bells of Steel. They're based in Calgary, which was not too far away from me, so shipping costs were way lower than importing anything from the USA. I wanted to buy something that would last for life, was safe, and something I enjoyed using every single day. I also compared every item with tons of other brands, and I'll link a spreadsheet below where I compare everything, but really it's tailored to what I was looking for, and when you're buying everything and it's so heavy, buying from one location really helps with the shipping costs. Anyway, the truck rolled up on a snowy day and we helped unload everything up the slippery driveway into our garage. We were too excited the first night not to build anything, so my wife and I cracked open the adjustable bench and started from there. It was much bigger than I expected, but it was very stable and solid, and I was excited to use it. With that said, I should have looked up the tools that was needed ahead of time, and it does list it on their website if you click into instructions, but this stuff requires specific wrenches and sockets that I didn't have, so I ended up having to run over to my buddy's house who works in the trades. I plan to do a review on every item individually, so subscribe if you're interested in seeing full reviews later on. Next was the Hydra Series 2-post squat rack, which is a 3x3 rack, and I wanted to get a 2-post instead of a 4-post because it saves space, and I actually got to test this exact setup in the upstairs of the old gym I was working out in. So not only does it save space, I've tested it, and because it's a modular system, if I really wanted to, I could buy more uprights, and I could make it a 4-post system. The install was easy enough, but I won't pretend it wasn't perfect. Some parts of it were scuffed and had paint issues, which is not a huge deal since I plan to beat it up anyways. But there was one piece of metal in the legs that was from the punch out when they first made the holes that was stuck inside the post.
Look at that. Oh, it's from them punching out the holes, look.
Feel like a piece from punching out the holes? Oh yeah, look at it right there. What the hell? A lot of the welds weren't the cleanest either, but it's still solid 3x3 steel. It's going to get the job done, it's going to keep me safe, especially with these spotter arms that I got with it. Now the hardest part of the whole process, the cable machine. This had a lot more parts than the other items and took some time to put together. I chose the selectorized version over the plate loaded, which means like it already had the weight installed. Bells of Steel has their own video tutorial on how to build this, and you have to really watch that and cross-reference the paper instructions they give you. In the video, he does some parts out of order, and in some parts he doesn't tell you what nut or bolt to use, so you really do have to look at the paper instructions, and it's a long process to build this thing. It's not a hard build, it just takes some time, which you expect with the cable machine and this many moving parts. Also, inside the chrome upright, because there's two on the front here, there was this weird metal tool, looks like some kind of clamp, that was stuck in there, which is clearly not supposed to be in there, and it was not supposed to be shipped to me. Other than that, once the build was done, I loved it. It's a smooth pulley, it's quiet, and it feels very solid. This is hands down the piece I was most excited for. Here are a few other negatives after getting to use the machine. The cable weight ratio is misleading as it is a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning the weight is half of what it says on there. So if it says 100 pounds, you're actually lifting 50, which is super annoying. Obviously, you should just label the weight, what it is to the cable, per side. And then if I want to use both together, I'll add them together. It says on one side at 160 pounds, it's actually only 80 pounds. So if you want to do anything heavier, like any kind of lat pull down or low row, you definitely need to get a connector bar that connects the two. But after the big builds were done, all that was left for my Bells of Steel order was the bar and the weights. For the barbell, I went with their powerlifting bar. I don't plan to do any Olympic lifting. And we actually upgraded it to get the black Cerakote finish, just because it helps with the rust. And I also heard that this had a very strong knurling, which means it's very grippy on the hands and kind of like sandpapery. And I wanted something a little milder, but still grippy so that my wife could enjoy it as well. Well, this thing is actually crazy aggressive knurling, and I'll be honest, I actually love it. I love how grippy and strong it is, and if anything, my wife is planning to use gloves anyways when she uses it, so it's not a big deal. And I'm actually super stoked on this bar. I think it looks sick in black, and the grip feels amazing. I definitely give the grip a 10 out of 10. For the weights, I only got 4 45 plates. I love the sound of metal, so that's why I had to go with metal. It was an easy choice for me. But if you're looking for any kind of rubber coated options, I compare a bunch of them in the spreadsheet that I link in the description, and you can look at them. Just remember, cost of shipping really will make or break a decision like this. Gym equipment or gym gear is very heavy, so always calculate the shipping cost to your location before buying anything. I also already had a bunch of used weights I bought from Facebook Marketplace. So I had a set of 5s, 10s, 25s. So the only thing I was really missing was some 45s, and eventually I realized I'm missing some 2.5 plates I'll have to get. Eventually I'll also be grabbing some bumper plates for deadlifting and a trap bar, but for now, this is a great start. To wrap things up, I grabbed a few more extra pieces off of Amazon. Wall plate holders, a TV mount, and a mirror mount. I already had a mirror that I got for free from Facebook Marketplace, and I already had an old TV lying around. So I just had to mount them on the wall, make sure they're on studs, and everything was good to go. They're simple upgrades, but it helps with space and makes it look a little better. We have a lot of open walls or open space on the walls still. We plan to put art and more organization things. I have a lot of cable attachments I'm realizing now that I had before from going to a regular gym. I would just bring in my bag. But we have a lot, and eventually we'll be getting all of that and some dumbbells. I mean, this is great to just start training, and I plan to add those things in the coming months. But right now, we can start working out in our gym. And if you're thinking of building your own home gym, I hope this gave you a real-world look at the process and helped you avoid any mistakes that I made along the way. If you want to see any future gear reviews or follow my upgrades, hit subscribe and check out the description for everything I mentioned, all the products, and my spreadsheet where I compare everything before I made my purchases. Thanks for watching.